Yo, we are here. We are ready. A lot to talk about today. I am so glad to be back. Still feeling a little bit under the weather. Well, but we'll get it together. Oh, bars. Okay. Let's get right into this one, folks. Glad to be here. Let me just a little something. There we go. All right. I hope I got all my audio levels and stuff good this time around. In case I don't, this will just be sitting out there for members. If I do, then, we're going to have some hellified videos this week. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, MM2K, Hard Knock Digital Culture, Cloud Dosage, MM2K Gaming, back again. Let me stop bouncing everywhere. I forgot, I got this XLR microphone. Woo, that's coming in hot. Sorry. I got this XLR microphone now, so it's important for me to kind of chill out, not bounce around everywhere, just talk, because I'm still getting used to this whole setup. What's up, everybody? So a lot been going on with Xbox, Microsoft, and some other things. There's also a lot of stuff going on about PlayStation, Bluepoint. I don't know why I got parched all of a sudden. This whole Bluepoint thing been a big mess. We're going to get to that in the show. Not this show. We will talk about that. I want to dedicate this recording, though, one specific topic. That's the new Xbox regime. There's a lot going on. There's a lot happening. Some comical, some infuriating, and most of it in between. But what I want to do with this show today is try to pluck out the ridiculousness of the whole conversation surrounding this new regime. I'm going to pluck out that ridiculousness. And then I want to show you why it's ridiculous. And then hopefully we can wrap it up with a nice little bow, and I can just give you my overall thoughts of what's happening now, what's likely to happen in the future. And I do not do a show, I do not do a stream unless I comment on solutions. Every time I talk about something, I am solution oriented. So this isn't just a hate stream. Like, you'll get people that don't talk that garbage. Oh, MM2K, you're just hating. When did you turn into a hater? I don't like something. A hater is just someone that just has nothing but negative connotation to share. And they don't tell you, or they don't prescribe anything that they want to see otherwise on why they dislike, said product or item. I tell you what I don't like, and I tell you what you have to do in order to change my mind. I always do that. Always been, what do you call that? I've always been orientated around results. Talk to my brother, Will Sinks. Shout out to Will Sinks, man. Will, I know you're having a hard time, brother. Shout out. And you're welcome to come up here. You're welcome to come up on the couch anytime you want. But I know my brother Will Sinks is having a hard time with all this, man. But Will tell you I'm results or solutions oriented. In my final throes with the Xbox platform, and shout out to Will and I, shout out to Will for the content him and I did. Will took time out of his busy schedule to sit with your boy, and we did a 3-part series. I don't even know if Will remembers this. We did a 3-part series on this channel. You can go look at it. It's like maybe 4 or 5 years old, where we talked about what could Xbox do despite Satya Nadella's expectations. Gosh, that had to be like 4 to 6 hours of content that me and Will Sinks did, formerly of my favorite Xbox podcast, Xbox Uncut, ever. I love that show. But yeah, we did almost 6 hours of content, if not more, trying to discuss this. I remember, shout out to the old man gamer, big Xbox fan. When I talked about the stuff that was happening with Game Pass and how it would negatively impact consumers because it wouldn't reach its goals, and I remember old man gamer who was listening in on that that little series that Will Sinks and I did. He listened in on that and he said, "Yo, Moss, you predicted all this stuff with Game Pass." It's not about being a hater, man. If I'm just sitting there calling people names and taking shots at people and doing ad hominems like a lot of these creators do, I get it. But simply because I'm criticizing your favorite piece of plastic and you're all in your feelings and your butt hurt, your butt chaffed, because you bought that piece of plastic and now you think it's to strike at your ego that I called it out. Who's the fanboy? Is it me or is it you? Or am I just exercising my legitimate next steps as a disgruntled consumer? Who buys something, puts a whole bunch of money in something, don't get back what you're supposed to get and just go, you know what? I shouldn't say anything. Let me keep my mouth shut. When under consumerism has that become a common practice? Why is it only supposed to be a common practice when it comes to consoles and gaming? The most money enduring form of entertainment out there. Why is the form of entertainment that's pulling in the most money you have to be the least vocal about? It doesn't make any sense to me. None at all. So it's ridiculousness like that I want to point out, and a whole host of other things. I'm going to try my best. Hopefully I can get through all this. I'm an old man. I've gotten to the point, y'all, where I gotta watch my blood pressure. Can you imagine that? When people will probably listen to this and like, yeah, you scream on the mic all. No, it's because I've been going back to work, right? Where I work at, the food is just hideous. What I would do on a regular basis, and now I got to stop this, I would go get me a corned beef sandwich at the place of work. It's only believe it or not, it's the only healthy thing that they have is their corned beef sandwich. So I would eat it, meanwhile, I'm shooting my blood pressure up. So one day, or really this past Friday, I got corned beef sandwich for lunch. Then directly after work, my wife and I went to go have Chinese food. And then I fell asleep, right? As soon as I got home, I was supposed to go in the place of business, but something happened. And thank goodness I didn't go in. So I fell asleep, woke up at midnight. And instead of just taking my butt back to sleep, I'm like, I'm hungry still. And had found this TV dinner that happened. I was like, oh, I had this thing in here. Those things are loaded with sodium. So popped that thing in the microwave, ate it real quick, and went to bed directly after that. So I slept on all that salt that day. I'm telling you, when you get old, you can't just flush this stuff out. I've been drinking water, and you're supposed to have water, watermelons, celery juice, apple cider vinegar, stuff like that to flush your body out. I'm still only 70% good. So, watch your health, man. Watch the sodium is a serious thing. And yeah, TV dinners and lunch meat. Really watch lunch meat. You know what I mean? When I was working from home, I made my own food. It was a lot healthier. Now I'm just trying to find ways to just get something quick to eat. Because I'll be honest, a lot of times I'm so busy, I don't even get to eat at work. That's how busy we are. I don't even get to eat. It's a completely different culture shock from working from home. Where it's I'm creating content, so I don't want to eat. Now it's when you want to eat, you don't get to eat. So, be very careful when you get to these tender ages. All right. It's all about that whining and crying and asking you guys to put something in my Metamucil fund as an old man here. Let's get on with the show. So, topic number one. that I want to cover is okay, so let's just get right into it. Asha Sharma is the new CEO of Xbox, or I'm sorry, Windows Gaming. She's the new Windows Gaming CEO. She took over for Phil, who quote unquote retired. And we did a big 4-hour show here on YouTube about it as soon as the news broke. Shout out to Cold Blood and the Juice who were on that panel. And hopefully this upcoming Friday, we'll be able to do another panel stream. But we talked about that for over 4 hours. And we looked at all the statements and stuff that was coming out. And, we surmised it was just a bunch of like empty PR jargon. Like they're just playing upon that parasocial crap that, they know is like red meat to the Xbox fan base, at least on Twitter. Phil's still staying around for, advising Miss Sharma. So she's apparently playing it up. Shout out to King Thrash. He did a hell of a little mini expose on Miss Sharma and her practices, and it seems like she's a PR specialist to where she actually did a seminar, and in her seminar, for a company called Porch. I don't know quite what Porch did, but in her seminar for Porch, she put at the crux of your success is not necessarily how good your product is. She didn't necessarily say don't have a good product. I'm paraphrasing. She's saying, but at the crux of your success is the story you tell. Yes, the story you tell, the psychological pull that you have on your consumer base. Now, I've always told you guys, based upon my Fortune 500 experience, or Fortune 100 now, my Fortune 100 experience, that the management team at my company, we would go and do like these little modules where they would ask us to psychologically, we're pretty much trying to train us to psychologically uproot reality for you, the consumer, and make you believe something else is going on. This whole psychological ploy is a big thing in corporate business right now. And she just happens to be really good at it. So she's made her way from Porch, and I think she was at Instacart, and she's made her way over to Microsoft, and she was part of like an AI wing, and where she was like second in command, I think, or second or third in command in AI wing. And now she's been put over here with Xbox. Now, there's been a lot of talk on how she made it over to Xbox. Was she demoted? Because a lot of people felt like this was a demotion. King Thrash brings that up in his piece that he did. I think it's a very interesting perspective on it. So there's a lot of things floating around on Miss Sharma and what's going on. I'll get to what I think later, but what I want to say is, surprisingly, or maybe not surprising, let me be honest here. Let me cut the malarkey. Is that Miss Sharma came out with this rhetoric filled. She said things like, I want to bring Xbox back. I want to get back to our roots. We want to make the console the center of our business. It said all this stuff like it was coming from Peter Moore, right? And so that got a lot of Xbox people excited, because instead of looking past the rhetoric, they decided, hey, I'm going to continue drinking the Kool-Aid. Instead of looking at the fact that Miss Sharma comes from AI, she, like, what is her business prowess? Like, we had many people claim, Sarah Bond, what was she doing? Pretty much second or third in command, if you try to guess who was closer to Phil, her or Matt Booty. It appears it was Matt Booty. But why she was so high up the food chain when it came to Xbox, when she came from T-Mobile. But at least before she got her promotion, she proved herself. Even though I didn't agree with their arguments, her testimony in the FTC trial was meticulous and, dare I say, vital to the success of that court case. I mean, there's some other fuddy-duddy stuff going on between the connection of the judge and the judge's son and whatever stuff, but I mean, let's just be real here. Microsoft just kicked the federal government's ass in its testimony. They clearly were not equipped to handle this case. Well, Microsoft did their homework, and Sarah Bond, I feel like, was the most effective. So despite her lack of experience in the gaming sphere, Sarah Bond proved herself as a vital component high up the food chain in Xbox. From a business perspective, they say a lot of these deals that was happening with Sega, where, Sega was entering Game Pass and all this, they said that was Sarah doing that stuff. Where Phil had failed for years. Sarah Bond was getting Japanese developers to go in on Xbox. Now, to tie this and to make the tie between Sharma and Sarah, I'm just going to touch on this now. We're going to get into it later, but I want to touch on it now while it's still on my mind. None of the, I got talking bullets, but I don't have a script. So after Asha Sharma said what she said, and it was going around the circles of the gaming community, and a lot of people were saying, hey, bullpucky. What happened to Sarah Bond? We didn't hear from Sarah and all this other stuff. And why, nobody except for Phil Spencer even mentioned Sarah Bond. You saw a situation where The Verge and Tom Warren came out with, which was nothing but a hit piece on Sarah Bond, and making it seem like that, pretty much everybody hated her. She was hard to work with. Tom Warren even says, I told you guys several months ago where, Sarah Bond staked her whole career on the This Is an Xbox campaign. And that. So that there was a big hit piece by Tom Warren, in The Verge on Sarah Bond, making her seem like that, she's the reason for the failure of Xbox. Despite facts that she was basically called in to pour gasoline on a fire in order to put it out. They said, here, we want this fire put out. Well, oh, sure. Well, I got some plans. No. Here, use this cup of gasoline. And she's just sitting there standing, trying to figure out what angle to pour the gasoline over the fire. And maybe if she can use the wind gust, she's going to wait till it's windy. You know what I mean? Like the wheels were already set in motion when Phil talked in 2018 and so forth about being on extra screens and things like that. Before Sarah even had her position, Amy Hood, the CFO of Microsoft, warned Phil and his current staff at that time, this is pre-Sarah, watch making a golden toilet when it came to xCloud. Meaning, do not put all your eggs in this basket of something that, has a very minute function, or AKA a golden toilet. And they decided to move forward anyway. And This Is an Xbox was just Sarah's way of trying to use gasoline again, the gasoline that they handed her, trying to use gasoline to put out a fire. Now, was the campaign stupid? Was it effective? Well, I mean, we could look at it's not a hard question to answer, but we'll get into all that later. But it was important for me to announce that, to tie that into what's going on with the new CEO, Asha Sharma. So Phil's quote unquote retired. Sarah just abruptly resigned. Both put out letters later claiming that they already knew what was going to happen with Asha Sharma. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't believe it. I feel like that maybe Asha Sharma was introduced to the business for a different means. Maybe they were going to integrate AI, according to Satya Nadella, and maybe only at least Sarah knew about Asha Sharma. Or not Sarah, only Phil knew that Asha Sharma was going to be his successor. I don't think Sarah knew. I think originally their plan was to ice her out. But when it started hitting the rounds of people saying, what about Sarah? What about Sarah? How come Sarah's being left out? They then decided to have Sarah Bond ceremoniously write something out and then, comment that she knew Asha, was going to be there. Where again, I think Asha Sharma's original role was going to be related to AI. But Asha and maybe Phil, it's possible Phil didn't even know. Because here's the way everything went down. It seemed to me that Phil could have very well possibly thought that Sarah Bond was taking over when he retired. I think Phil did express that he wanted to retire. Then he probably had it in his mind that Sarah was going to take over. You got to remember, I think Sarah was more appointed or, had accolades given to her from Satya. You got to remember, Sarah said this herself, that her and Phil Spencer had problems. She went to HR because she felt like that he wasn't a good communicator. I thought that was pretty odd for her to put into an article. She was kind of smelling herself a little bit, if not a lot. So I think Satya was looking at Phil and was like, you're not delivering on this whole hardware agnostic ecosystem thing. You're moving as slow as molasses on this because you're trying to appease these console peasants. We need to move forward on this, and I think Sarah should be the person. Just like Matt Booty more or less was a Phil appointee as well. I mean, not a Phil, a Satya appointee. Satya, hey, look, I think you should bring this person up. I know this from experience because I remember when I was looking for a replacement. I had just got promoted and I was looking for a replacement for my old position. And me and my boss, what we simply did is we just walked around the floor. We walked around our floor. It was like, I think we had like 200 employees. We just walked around the floor and we said, we just looked at everybody. And I remember my boss said to me, I think this person should take your spot. And I said, for real, I had my mind on somebody else. He said, no, this is the person that's going to take your spot. And I was comfortable with that person. It wasn't like that I hated them. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? And that person took my spot. It happens in business all the time. So, I think both Sarah and Matt were Satya appointees, but when you have the quarter that Xbox just had, where they underperformed, mainly because of Call of Duty, but yet they still underperformed. You already know hardware's falling off a cliff. Nothing you can do about that. Amy Hood keeps saying, and hardware is going to continue to fall. But you're looking to make inroads somewhere else and you're not, everything's falling, heads have to roll. And it looked like that the most fathomable plan was, okay, Phil's got to go. Sarah's got to go too. But we can't put this on Phil because Phil is too beloved. We got to pin this on Sarah. And I think that the and I'm going to touch about this in a little bit with the frustration with the gaming media, because what ended up happening is it appears that Tom Warren participated in a hit piece on behalf of Microsoft. I mean, the stuff that he put in that article was absolutely absurd and ridiculous. And after he got the pushback, and thank goodness, at least there's some type of sense in the gaming community where I think universally we heard the overwhelming majority of gamers, except for some of these weird red pill gamers out here. And you would be surprised. I'm not going to get into detail. You'd be surprised. Red pill gamers and execs out here. It hurt my heart to hear who falls behind this crap. And trust me, I got friends, I got people that I love that just prescribe to this red pill mentality. And I pray for them every day that they wake up out of their slumber. You know, that life, what it is when you're siloed and you're allowed to be siloed in who you approach or who you interact with and what life experiences you're exposed to. When your life is that convenient where you can be siloed like that, you just sit there and armchair quarterback all day. Now, someone like myself, I don't have that. I don't have that luxury. I'm coming from the bottom. So in order for me to come from the bottom, I got to go all the way to the top, and I got to go through everywhere. I got to go through all walks of life. I got to see how everything is in the entire world if I want to make it to the top. So that gives me a more well-rounded perspective to where I won't say everything that they say on that side is wrong. I'm not saying that, but a lot of it is just conjecture, armchair quarterbacking, and it is so off the mark. It's just ridiculous. So you, besides these red pill minded gamers and in some cases execs, everybody looked at the scapegoating of Sarah Barnes was like, whoa, hold on. Nah. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. Could she have been difficult to work with under? Yes. I would say 80% of my superiors were difficult to work with. You know what I'm saying? 80% of my, who cares? That's life. Was this is an Xbox thing? Was it a stupid campaign? Absolutely. It was a stupid campaign for an even stupider cause that started well before she had any say in it. So you have that dynamic, right, happening. So gamers push back on that. Thank goodness they outweighed the red pill and those that were trying to serve an agenda for Microsoft, clearly, like Tom Warren and the Verge and whoever else may be out there like that. And we got to a point to where I really want to deep dive first. Asha Sharma, Matt Booty, they did a sit down. The main thumbnail of this video is a representative of it represents not the sit down, but the picture that they took with some Xbox employees. As you can see, Sarah Bond is nowhere to be seen in the pictures, but it is claimed that she was in attendance. Now, again, I don't know if that's because Sarah was declined to be in the pictures or she was not invited, but she's nowhere. I don't know. So I'm not going to interject any further there. I'll just say she was nowhere to be there. So that there's clearly tension from somewhere for some reason. And it's not as easy peasy as it's been made out to be and stuff like that. No company's going to go out there and say, yeah, we don't like her or she hates us. Nobody's going to do that. So I get that part. Being in the Fortune 500 world for over 3 decades, I get it. Or close to 3 decades. I'm sorry. I get it. So that brings me to the first part that I want to deep dive. So Sarah, Sarah Bond's scapegoating was pushed out of the way. And now you have this situation where Asha Sharma sat with Windows Central because now all these questions are brewing. You said you wanted to bring Xbox back. You said the console was going to be at the center. Yada, 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 this and that. Something's not adding up here. Why are you in charge? And why are you coming from AI in charge of this and that? So to alleviate those fears, quote unquote, she sat down with Windows Central. I think it's pretty fair to say that the answers that she gave to Windows Central were just fluff. But there's been a lot of consternation in the gaming community about what a lot of people were labeling a softball interview. Some people feel that it was a softball interview because because Xbox simply wanted to, play coy and play funny with words and just say nothing but make an appearance. Some people are blaming Windows Central for being softball, and some people are blaming both. So I want to address that first. In order to do that, I want you guys to take a look at this. So maybe we'll go here first. So Blessings, the guy's name is Blessings. I can't pronounce his last name. Sorry about that, bro. From Kinda Funny, as told by Oliver Darko, Blessings from Kinda Funny slams Jez Gordon of Windows Central for his softball interview with new Microsoft Gaming CEO Asha Sharma, implies he's some kind of corporate shill. So here's what I want to do. Let's pause the music. Because I want you guys to hear this. Normally I would play the music, and maybe I still will play the music along with this. I gotta find where's my voice meter. I think this is this is where. Okay, let's play this, and then we're gonna react to it in the back end. Again, this is Blessings from Kinda Funny podcast addressing the sit down that Asha Sharma and Matt Booty, Asha Sharma, the new CEO of Xbox or Microsoft Gaming, excuse me, and Matt Booty had with Windows Central and all the comments or the nothing burger comments that were said. Let's go.
We got to talk about Xbox. Big article just came out from Jez talking with.
Don't get me started. No, nothing. Where they said nothing.
Blessing.
Did you
read my mind?
They said fucking nothing.
It's a oh my blessing!
But also, listen, I'm not trying to talk shit. I'm not gonna talk shit. I was gonna talk shit. I'm not gonna talk shit.
Well, here's the deal.
Yeah.
It's a nothing burger because simply put, she is coming into a new role. She has a lot to learn. Mm-hmm. It's like that little Uzi Vert. I just got here like yesterday.
Yeah, I just got here yesterday. I'm just out here.
This is my new job. I just got here. I don't have much to say.
Yeah.
You come back, okay? And that's simply how this is she is coming into a new role. She has a lot to learn on top of everything.
Yeah.
But, she's not making decisions tomorrow. So, you're going to wait some time.
Here's my beef, right?
Tell me.
You had gamesindustry.biz. You have Bloomberg, Jason Schreier. You got The Game Business, Christopher Dring.
Yes.
You got you have IGN. You have a list of people that you can go to have that first big interview, big conversation, lay out all right, where are we at with Xbox? I don't know. I feel like the place that you went isn't the place that you go if you're trying to have a good interview. If you're trying to get something that is
Windows Central, Jez,
Windows
Xbox?
Central. It has Windows in the title of the website.
Here's the deal.
I don't go to Jez for my fucking objective journalism about a big corporate shakeup at Xbox.
It's just a
don't piss me off.
Opening interview. There will be many more interviews in the next.
This is your first one.
6 months. It's just fine. There's nothing to be said.
We're gonna go to the person that's gonna make sure that they're okay with us saying nothing.
What do you want to do? Grill her on day one?
Ask questions that are have somebody that's gonna follow up. Have somebody that's gonna ask questions that matter. Have somebody that's not gonna fucking serve you the most softballs of questions. Have somebody that's going to give an objective fucking stance.
I'll get on the.
I want to comment on that part. Pay close attention to that part. That's the most vocal part, where he says, have someone that's not going to, throw you softballs. Someone who knows how to pretty much answer the right questions. You know what I mean? They know how to ask the right questions. He brings up follow-up, but, from what we learned later, follow-up wasn't necessarily possible. Fine. But have someone that's not going to be okay with you asking, giving out fluff. Now, there's only so much you can do because from what we understand, the interview time was only 15 minutes. And when you only have 15 minutes to talk to someone about all this big hoopla that was happening over the weekend, there's not a lot of follow-up you can do, if any, because you're not going to get to address everything. Perfectly fine. That makes sense. But you know that in advance, and you're sitting down with somebody. If you've done your homework, you're sitting down with somebody who is a PR master. Don't tell me. And look, this is nothing against King Thrash at all. But King Thrash is not a contributor to a big time gaming website. There is no reason why King Thrash should be doing more homework than Jazz Gordon on who he's sitting across the room from and doing an interview with. If he would have done his homework like King Thrash, then he would have known, hey, I gotta ask specific questions to get specific answers or attempt to get specific answers for the people that I serve. Do you serve? I'm gonna get to. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm gonna get to what I was just about to say about who you're serving in a little bit. But that was a very important point by Blessings that flew over everybody's head. Everybody focused on, why couldn't Jazz do it? Why shouldn't it be Windows Central? No. The fact of the matter is that 99 times out of 100, it's perfectly fine for Jazz and Windows Central to cover an article. But right now, with all this confusion, all this rhetoric that was thrown out there, and all this state of standstill, and gamers feel like they're in a black hole right now, we need answers. Particularly Xbox gamers need answers. I'm talking about the gamers like Will Sink and all the other ones that aren't shields, that are big-time fans of Xbox, been there since day one. They've been there longer than I have. I wasn't there exactly at day one, but I was there in the first few years. I've been there since day one. Those gamers deserve answers that aren't corporate shills, that aren't trying to shoehorn in an agenda from Microsoft like Tom Warren for, I don't know, $50,000 in a brown paper bag or something like that. Who knows what he got? All I'm saying is, for those that deserve better, do better. So Blessings brought up a great point. The questions, were they the right questions? Simply asking about, well, hey, you're from AI. What does that mean? Hey, you said bring Xbox back. What does that mean? You don't think she didn't prepare over the weekend for those questions? So you have to prepare in advance as well for her dodginess, and throw questions at her to where if she wants to look like she's legitimate, they are pointed and she's going to have to address them. Very great point by Blessings. I will digress and shut up and let Blessings continue to speak here.
I'll get on the line with the crew. We'll get a hold and we'll get an interview for you.
I'm crashing out, Mike.
Okay. Now, believe it or not, that from Blessings caused so much controversy to where at first a lot of people like myself that were expressing satisfaction with what he was addressing, which the thesis of what he said is, look, not so much I hate Jazz, even though there was some snarkiness towards Jazz later, because I think somebody, here's a matter of fact, I'll show it. Just to be fair, I'll show it. Because there was some snarkiness towards Jazz, you know, where somebody had said this after he went on that tirade.
And then Golden Arms PR says, Blessing, put some respect on Jaz's name. No.
So yeah, it's like, no. And I don't think it was less, it was snarky, of course. But I think it was less of, I want to offend Jazz to say, no, Jazz just isn't the right person at this time. It kind of reminds me of, for those of you that are fans of Dave Chappelle, where what stand-up comedy, I think it was Killing Them Softly. Check out Killing Them Softly, one of the great Dave Chappelle contributions to comedy, in a variety of ways that he's contributed it. But in that, I think it was Killing Them Softly, where they were talking about what happened at 9. No, it wasn't Killing Them Softly. Killing Them Softly was the one before 9/11. What was? Let me see here. Let's look this up. Let's use Gemini, the almighty Gemini. What was the Dave Chappelle comedy stand-up where he did during the Chappelle run, where he came with that funny looking mustache? How come Gemini's not responding? Let's AI mode. Put this in AI mode. Yeah, for what it's worth. Yeah, that stand up was so mediocre. Yeah, I even forgot the name of it. I can't believe it. Yeah, for what it's worth, 2004. Dave Chappelle did a stand-up comedy routine where he was talking about after 9/11, he was talking about how MTV was like, yeah, you know, all right, so we just had the towers hit in New York City. It's very devastating, and we need to be consoled over this, and we need to know where we're going to move forward after such an attack. We have Ja Rule on the line. What does Ja Rule have to say? You know, and Dave Chappelle, you know, comically joked, who the hell cares what Ja Rule got to say about 9/11? Like, come on now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nothing against Ja Rule. Even if you were a fan of Ja Rule, you had to see the ridiculousness of approaching Ja Rule in a time of need like that. So the same theory applies here. In a time of need, where we need Asha Sharma pinned up against the wall, not necessarily for everything that she's going to do, but for the stuff she just said. She needs to be held accountable for the stuff that she just said, because as a PR specialist, she knows what type of feeling it evokes. So how down are you for bringing back the old Xbox? What do you mean by that? Because this is what it invokes. So how close to what you were invoking do you actually stand? That was the point that flew over everybody's head that Blessings was trying to make, because the majority of you, now not most of you listening to this, because if you're listening to this, especially as a member, you're cut of a different cloth. That's why you're even here. But the most of them out there in the gaming community, they're dying dumb. They're dumb. They're too stupid. It's a wonder they can lace their shoes. That flew over the head. It wasn't, it's like, look, I'm not putting respect, even that snarky comment. No, I'm not putting respect on Jazz's name for something like this. He clearly focused on and made the theme of his ire, look, for this time specifically, you don't go to Jazz Gordon. Jazz Gordon is not going to get us the answers. This is not his forte. Any other time, fine. Now, no. Especially after what you just said. It's not about pinning her down. Well, okay, you're the new CEO. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Of course she needs time to adjust. You know what I mean? That if she's going to do something legitimate, she needs time to adjust. That's not the point. The question is, what are you going to do based upon what you just told us in your opening comments? Bring Xbox back. That invokes some stuff. Right? Right. Okay. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, we made that abundantly clear. I got to say this. Well, first, let me do this. Let me go back to my original. I said, people who use "they don't know how interviews go" as a rebuke towards Blessings Jr. amplify the problem he alludes. This is how you interview an Xbox CEO when a mountain of uncertainty is at hand. And I just want to bring you guys back to this. And this is the infamous Fortune 500 magazine interview, the best interview ever done with Phil Spencer. I mean, his back was pinned up against the wall for the things that he said and the things that he's claimed. Now, there's only so much you can pin Asha to the wall about right now. You do gotta, some of it is you have no choice but to wait and see. But if you're accountable to the gamers that are left in limbo right now, you do step up and say, hey, you invoke these things. How true to form to what you're looking to do, or that you know that you're allowed to do, are you willing to, enact? Because when you said these things, this is what it communicated to the gamers. The best interview, I urge everybody to watch it. And I think this is over an hour, but I think they cut a lot of it back. I don't remember it being less than an hour, and I don't remember this being the title. Phil Spencer working with Sony and competing with Google Stadia. Something just seems amiss here. But I definitely urge you guys to check it out. Now, anyway, with that being said, can I go back? No, I can't go back here. So that's what Blessings was talking about. But then you start something that you had happen here. Something that you had happen is you had a lot of people come out who are journalist friends or access hungry people like Jazz and Windows Central, and they go after Blessings. And they say, oh, that was just hater-ish and friends of Jazz too. Let me throw that in there, because everybody that I feel like is on the wrong side of this isn't necessarily access hungry. I think they let their friendship or their affinity for Jazz cloud their judgment over this, or cloud which side they fall on over this. It was unprofessional, it just wasn't right. It was just, poor behavior, this, that, and the other. And I think the pressure mounted up on, kind of funny in them, to where they pulled him out and made him apologize. I'm not going to go over that. It was pathetic. Not his apology. It was just the fact that they doled this guy out for saying something that we all felt that was pro-gamer. That was, hey, look, someone has to be accountable for these things that were said. That's it. We're just making her accountable for the things that she said, not for everything that she's going to do. There's no way you can get that into 15 minutes true. But she says some things that within 15 minutes is more than enough time if you ask the right questions. to pin her down on that, to either get her to admit or go into detail what she said, admit it was malarkey, or pretty much signal it was malarkey by giving more answers to pointed questions, right? So after that happened, and then Blessings came out, and Greg Miller and kind of doled him out to do that, I went back and I said, you know what? I already knew this, but this is more proof that the journalist wing of the gaming community is not about you, the gamer. They're not about you. They're about their access, their agenda, their access to Phil and all these other people. They don't want to make them mad. So they're about their access. They're about their agendas like Tom Warner and The Verge. And they're about their friends. People that are like, well, I like Jazz, or Jazz is my friend. And they're willing to throw away the respect and the information that you deserve for something as frivolous as Jazz is my friend. I like Jazz. I'm watching this thing on Netflix. It's called Hostage. Very interesting show. I don't want to give away the whole premise. Don't want to spoil it, and I won't. Got to deal with the British Prime Minister, President of France. Something happens where the British Prime Minister's husband gets taken hostage. But he gets taken hostage in French territory. President of France has alternative political things. So she's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna help you, but I need you to help me with this political thing. And she kind of bends or whatever, right? She's like, okay, yep, we'll send in troops, we'll get your husband, right? So they're about to do it, but somehow the kidnappers contact the French president, and then they blackmail her over something salacious. So right before they're about to get the husband, she cancels the whole thing. Like, no, we can't do it. And so the British Prime Minister, her back's up against the wall because she's going against the timeline, or her husband or other people, everybody got kidnapped. Any of the people, their husband or anybody that got kidnapped, along with the husband, is going to die. So what she does is she makes a bold move, because they want her to resign. These kidnappers, they want her to resign. She just says, you know what? I'm not resigning. Even though the father of my child, and my child's up, she's tore up right now because of this. And I want my husband back. I love my husband. And at first, I did try to circumvent announcing this to y'all, whatever, because I'm trying to save my husband, but I have a duty. I have a duty beyond my personal relationships to look out for you. That's what you voted me in for. That's what you're paying me your taxes for. I have a duty. And even though I love my family and I don't want nothing to happen to my husband, I got to go against what these hostage takers want me to do. And now I got to go out here and I got to announce it, because they wanted me to keep this hush hush and they wanted me to just resign in shame. And she threw everybody in for a loop because they did not expect her to do that. And she took a very brave stance. Again, we're not talking about people's husbands and spouses getting kidnapped and crying kids, all this other stuff. We're talking about integrity. We're talking about integrity. If you like jazz, you like jazz. So what? I like Cold Blood, and Cold Blood likes me. Tell me one time that I said something that Cold Blood didn't agree with, that he didn't vehemently speak out against. Vehemently. And guess what? He's still here, and he will remain here as long as he wants to be. Why? Because we work on integrity. I would never want him to do or be anybody but who he is. I can't be around a bunch of yes men. When I was in a management position, all my assistants and the people that working with me had different philosophies than I did. Why did I do that? Because I wanted to cover all my bases in case there was something that I didn't see. I'm not the all-seeing eye out here. And that's what made my groups that I managed the most successful in our department for years. For years. We were so successful, and at times felt like we were being sabotaged because we were making all the other managers look bad. Employees that they couldn't work with were coming to us and becoming better and becoming supervisors. These were people that you were saying were trouble employees. They were getting the right coaching and stuff, and they were becoming supervisors. Error rates dropping 2, 3, 4, 5, 10-fold in some cases than everybody else in the department. It was about integrity. It wasn't about ego, and it wasn't about politics, and it wasn't about friendships. I want a friend that's going to be honest with me. And even when I'm being attacked, if I'm wrong about something, like for instance, I won't say that I'm wrong all the way about Stadia, but my belief system that the powers to be would give Stadia a chance was wrong. Now, most of the stuff that I was saying was right, but it doesn't matter if they're not giving it a chance. Not once has Cold Blood come out and say, you know what? I may have not liked Stadia, but I don't think it's fair how you were being attacked over Stadia. You're like, yo, bro, you had to eat that bullet. And I was like, you're damn right. You know what? Cold Blood, you're right. I was wrong about that. And I had to go and apologize to the Google Graveyard guy because out of all of us, he was the one that was right the most. I don't want yes men around me, and showing blind loyalty to somebody who is doing people wrong is not integrity. Not integrity. If you want to protect somebody from something harmful and you want to shield them and get them out of the way, out of the harm, and maybe chastise them, what you think in a more constructive way, that's different. But to sit there and say, because Jez is my friend, and excuse what has happened, that is the purest form of lacking integrity that there could be. And we all get the urge. But you got to ask, number one, who is it that you serve when you're out here talking? And are you going to serve them all the time? That's number one. But number two, at the heart of that, in order for you even to consider who is it that you're serving, because yes, you're servicing somebody, this is a commodity that you're providing, you got to ask, what type of commodity are you involved in? That then comes this tweet right here from your boy. Okay, so now, I was going to say, now it wants to make me look stupid. So I say here, after all this had happened, I said, this whole discourse regarding blessings and jazz boils down to a simple word: commodity. What is the commodity you seek from the online gaming community? Is it acceptance? Access, maybe? Blessings complaint speaks to a commodity objectors can't relate to. More to come. And that more is right now. When I speak of commodity, people, there's only one commodity that I'm here for. Let me help you understand it. And in order for me to help you understand it, I got to break down why I started even making YouTube content in the first place. I'm a nerd. And nerds live and die off of facts. See, a lot of you playing games right now, you're not nerds. You just happen to like games because gaming became popular. One of my siblings who can't stand gaming had a couple of friends that game and were playing Elden Ring. So they called me up one day. Hey, bro, what's going on? What's going on? So what's up with this Elden Ring game? Like this, that, you know? And I'm like, I don't play Elden Ring. And they were just so shocked because everybody around them was playing Elden Ring and they felt left out. So they wanted this access to this Elden Ring thing too. And they were hoping that I could fill them in because I'm a gamer, and what gamers are supposed to do is play Elden Ring, right? So we got into a discussion about Elden Ring, and I could feel during the discussion that it wasn't so much that they were into Elden Ring, more so that they were just like really trying to fit in somewhere. You know what I mean? Like they were really trying to, you know, and I gathered later that it was because this sibling was having would be on the phone having conversations or being out in settings with their friends, and all their friends started playing Elden Ring, so they were feeling left out. So naturally, when I didn't give them the scoop on Elden Ring, like they didn't pursue it anymore and they gave it up. But let's just say if I did play Elden Ring and I was like, yeah, this and I got them into Elden Ring. And then they just happened to know a little bit about gaming. So now they want to be part of the community or whatever. Now that they want an armchair quarterback, because you see a lot of that happen. You see a lot of people that are new to gaming. They may have opinions, but instead of making sure that the opinions that they formulate are based upon the, you know, facts and stuff like that, they just want to swing their emotions like fist all over the place, right? That's what's happening to the gaming community. You have a lot of, and the term is tourists. You have a lot of tourists in here now. They're not nerds. And even the people that aren't tourists, y'all are not nerds. Y'all might game like a mofo. Y'all are not nerds. Nerds care about culture and facts. If you're not one that is a steward of knowing how things work, even things that you're not into, but are related to technology and nerd culture, you are not a nerd. I am a nerd. I am a nerd. And what got me into this is Best Buy, and I think they still have it because I don't frequent Best Buy much. Best Buy, when they first adopted the Geek Squad, I remember Best Buy before they had the Geek Squad, and when they first adopted the Geek Squad, I had this thing. I was playing on the 360, and you know how there's people like John Linneman and other people that are real big on what are they? LCD or the CRT monitors, right? The old school CRT monitors. Well, the reason why they're so big on those is because the pixel and just just the video playback on a CRT monitor is so much crisp and fresher. I remember when I was rooming with my brother, we had ran out of TVs to game on, right? So I said, F it. I got this old CRT monitor on there. And he was just, he was laughing. I was like, let me bring the old CRT monitor up here because we were trying to play a co-op game. I remember. Oh, yeah. We were trying to play, what co-op game was it? We were trying to play, gosh, I can't remember. Oh, Operation Vietnam. It was like the Operation Desert Storm series, but the next spinoff one was Operation Vietnam. And that one was, System Link co-op. So you could play it on a different screen on the OG Xbox, I think it was. Yeah, it was the OG Xbox. So I'm hooking it up because we ran out of TVs in the place. Everybody's using the TVs in our game room. Like someone's watching a movie. My brother's on the extra TV. And I could have played it in my room, but I wanted to be in the game room with everybody hanging out because we was all just drinking, having a good time or whatever. So I said, well, let me bring up this CRT monitor. I'll just play on this. I'll deal with it here. When I hooked up that CRT monitor, I was like, whoa, this actually isn't bad. because the reason why I was able to do it is my brother had a part called a VGA cord. What a VGA cord was, if you're old enough to remember, before HDMI cords, there were composite cords. There were the red, yellow, and white cords that connected from your game console to your TV. And then there were HD composite cords for like 1080p, whatever. There was like a green one and a dark red one, whatever. Well, the VGA cord simply connected to the back of your console, right? And then it connected to the back of a CRT monitor, had those had the VGA input, right? So, and I don't know where my brother got this from. He had weird stuff like that hanging around. So I tried it and I was like, holy cow, hold on, bro. This looks better than a regular TV. So then I continued to play on the CRT monitor, and we left that upstairs in the game room. And so then whenever we were playing like a split, a different screen co-op game, I would go get on Xbox Live and I would play it that way, right? On the CRT monitor. But one day, my VGA cord, the wires got worn. And my brother was like, I don't know how I got this thing. I can't remember. I couldn't tell you who gave it to me. Someone had gave it to him and he happened to have it. And I tried looking at GameStop or whatever. They didn't know what I was talking about, right? Because the whole premise was fairly new. So I had looked online, and this is before Amazon. So you got to remember, before Amazon, you're shipping stuff out. It's taking at least 2 to 3 weeks, if not months. Like, you're lucky to get something in weeks. Back in the day when somebody orders something online, right? So I'm like, crap, I can't wait weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was so spoiled on the CRT. I didn't want a game on a monitor anymore, on an LCD screen. I didn't want to do it anymore. I wanted to game only on the CRT. I was like, I can't wait weeks or months for this. So I went to Best Buy. And Best Buy was like, I'm looking for this thing called a VGA cable. And I remember I went there directly after work, caught the subway, went to Best Buy because it was right before the mall I used to go to all the time to trade in my games, South Hills Village Mall. And I remember I walked in there and I said, hey, can I get, I want to get, VGA cable. And they're like, what is that? And I started breaking it down to them. And, and I think, this was before smartphones too, I think. Was this before smartphones? Yeah, this was before smartphones too. So I couldn't like whip out a smartphone and show them. But I'm trying my best to break it down to them. And they're like, nah, nothing like that exists. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you guys are Geek Squad. Don't you have computers back there? Like, look it up. And they're not even attempting to look it up. No, we don't have nothing like that. I don't think we have anything like that in the inventory. And they're like, dude, they're literally telling me I'm crazy. This thing doesn't exist. I'm getting mad because I'm like, this is the Geek Squad. You're using the word geek, nerd, whatever. You're supposed to know this stuff or at least try to look it up for, why are you being dismissive? And I'm like, I had a cell phone, but not a smartphone. I had like a regular flip phone. So I get on the phone and I call my brother like a little baby. And I'm like, I'm going off. He knows how I get. So he's like, before this dude like ransacks this store because these people are playing with him, let me hit my ass over here. He comes over with the busted VGA cord. He said, here, show it to them. And I go and I show it to them and I chucked it at him. I said, here it is. Telling me I'm lying. I don't know what I'm talking about. I said, why are you guys called the Geek Squad, right? You guys don't even look this stuff up. Like, this is common knowledge amongst nerds or whatever about this technology. Like, I wouldn't expect you people to know. And the one guy just looked at me and was like, you know what? I'm sorry. I just applied for this position. I don't know what any of this stuff is. We don't know this stuff. We go by what's on the system. Like we may know how to, we may have some people that know how to put some stuff together, but that's the field people. Most of us don't know. We just get hired here because, and because we get access to games and stuff like that. And that's when I said, you know what? This is a problem. Why did I say it was a problem? Because why did I think it was a problem? Because things like, if you're going to being out front, honest, and truthful is so important to me. This may sound crazy to y'all now because y'all are so used to people using titles that don't apply to them, clickbait, all this other bait, rage bait, and all this other stuff. Back in the day, it wasn't like that. You can get stomped out for misconstruing yourself and what you represent. But for you to use the word geek and you hire people who are not geeks was so bad to me. I said, the geek culture, the nerd culture is going to hell in a handbasket. And honestly, I've had that mind state in my head ever since that moment. That's what sparked, MM2K was born that moment. We got to preserve the culture somehow. I can't do it on my own, but I'm gonna try to contribute to the preservation of the culture. And in order to preserve the culture, at the center of it has to be the truth. And so then I started, getting on social media, working on websites and things like that. And then I ended up landing on YouTube after that, and the rest is history. And if you notice, everything that I talk about is centered around the truth. That's why I started the YouTube channel, because I thought Xbox, and I still could, will contest that to this day. I don't think Xbox at launch, when it was all about multiplats, was getting a fair shake. The difference between the two were minuscule, right? The difference between the two were minuscule. And at launch, even though they weren't the greatest launch titles, Xbox had more in the name of exclusives than PlayStation did. PlayStation knew that their exclusive output was lackluster. Their execs not complain. They even apologized for it. I think it was in 2015. They said, okay, now, or 2016, it was either 2015 or 2016. They were like, yeah, we made you guys wait before we really put out any exclusives, but they're coming. You know what I'm saying? The same thing that we made fun of Xbox doing now, this generation, not having the exclusives for the upfront for the first few years, that's what PlayStation did last year. And they got away with it. So I do feel like that the coverage was unfair to Xbox. Was the Connect not done well? Absolutely. And was it kind of silly to have to pay an extra $100 if you're looking to upgrade for a console where technically the technically the games were better. The third party games were better on the cheaper platform. Was the whole premise of that ridiculous? Sure. So I understand why a lot of people that left PlayStation 3, went to Xbox, went back to PlayStation 4. It makes a lot of sense. It's just the coverage of it. The way they were making the disparity seem was absurd. It wasn't that noticeable to the naked eye. People were saying all this ruckus over an additional 180p in a lot of cases. I do stand by that. So a lot of my conversation at that time was, again, truthfully representing what was being put out there and the difference between the two, and why I felt like one was being overrated at the time. You know what I'm saying? Just for the sake of clicks, because engagement and clicks were paramount in the gaming community. After that E3, and after Digital Foundry came out and was, the Play the Grass in this version of the game is better, so this is the one you want to get. The other one is trash. After all that started happening and then more activity started mounting on the internet, that's when clicks and untruthfulness and everything started to bubble to the surface. So I wanted to be a counter to that. So when I first started my YouTube channel, I thought that Xbox at launch was not getting its fair shake. That's what my content represented. But at the very beginning, even though I felt like Xbox as a whole wasn't getting a fair shake, I was always leery of Phil Spencer, and I said that. My very first video, before I started, trying to defend Xbox and point out, the unfairness in the coverage, my very first video was this is me as an extreme Xbox fan at the time. Phil Spencer got a promotion I'm not celebrating. Check it out. It's still on this video. Still on this channel. Now, as the issue became Xbox's new regime not being up to standard, that's where my stance reflected. Because now the issue isn't, hey, Xbox isn't getting a fair shake. Now it's like, hey, you guys, okay, maybe you were unfairly represented in the beginning, but we're getting years into this thing, and you're not doing your job. Like, you're really falling beyond the waistline. Like, things are worse than what they were after you did this soft reboot. What is going on here? And that's where I talked about me and my homie Will Sinks sat down, tried to talk about the product and things that they could do under Satya Nadella, because we understood there was a new sheriff in town and he had different expectations, right? But we said it wasn't impossible to service what Satya wanted and service your core gamer base. Phil just wasn't up to snuff. He may have wanted to, he just wasn't the guy to do it. Just like how Jez may have wanted to give a good article to gamers, he just wasn't up to snuff. He's not the guy to do it. He did not have the critical interview skills in order to do it. Then there was my stint with the aforementioned Stadia, right? And that was and that started from, again, slight interest in it. You know what I mean? When they did their presentation, remember the one that, got them a lot of attention. And then the coverage started to get real negative because people thought that Stadia was going to work like Game Pass. That's how you were going to interact with the games. And when they found out that you had to purchase the games, the community went negative. I had no attachment to Stadia at the time. I didn't have no expectation of Stadia at the time. The only thing that I cared about Stadia was for two minute things. Number one, at that time, I was testing out all the cloud technologies because I was very interested in it. I was like, if I can play a game during my lunch break, if I can play Division, during a lunch break, that would be awesome. You know what I'm saying? So I was doing videos and stuff on all the cloud coverage. Go check them out. What was it? The cloud, I forgot what it was called, but it was about cloud gaming. It's all on this channel, where I was testing the different platforms in their beta phases, when they went full retail, all that stuff. Stadia, I didn't even have as my number one or my number two platform that I had tested before I got the retail version. When I played Project Stream, I was like, this is all right, but it ain't better than, at the time, NVIDIA and Shadow. I was like, whatever, right? But I had ordered it anyway because I was like, I'm going to test it out. Then as the coverage got worse and worse and worse, this is before I got my Stadia unit, I'm like, you know what, man? This coverage is getting so bad. And if this coverage is so bad, people got to know something. This thing must be an awful product. Let me not even waste my time with it. I was about to cancel my Stadia subscription, or cancel my Stadia unit. Don't believe me? Go ask Nethos. Shout out to Nethos. Nethos was there because we were all sitting there talking in the DM about, Stadia might not work. Stadia might need to do this thing or do that thing because of the way that it was rolled out. I was like, nah, this is dead in the water. This ain't gonna last a year. And I was like, let me cancel it. And the day that I went to cancel it is the day that they shipped it. And I was like, damn, okay. Well, worst case scenario, I don't like it. I'll send it back. I think they had a return policy of like 10 days or something like that. I'll send it back. It's only $120 for, I'll send it back if I don't like it, right? And then, so remember, coverage is getting worse and worse and worse. And then people started getting their units before I got mine. And they're playing it. And they're talking about how bad it is. And I'm like, oh, crap. See, I just put $120 at risk. Oh well. I'll just try it anyway, just for craps and giggles, right? Get it. And it's nothing like people were saying. I did the reasonable thing that an objective person would do when they get a product. Make sure that they set it up right and play it. So I'm sitting there playing and I'm like, hold on. Well, why is it that this thing is working for me, but it's not working for everybody else? Because when I'm playing it, I'm getting 4K 60. And I'm getting smoother gameplay online than I'm getting from my Xbox 360 and my PlayStation 4 at the time. I mean, not 360, my Xbox One and my PlayStation 4. I'm not getting, now, granted, the visuals on my consoles maybe look better because I had the Xbox One X and had the PlayStation 4 Pro. So the visuals look better, but I'm getting 60 frames per second now, which makes the overall visual ambiance better. And I'm getting smooth. And then when they finally went and put it on the web, I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. This is insane here. And it blew my mind. And I'm sitting there looking like 99% of the gaming community is sitting there talking about this thing like it's awful when you look at the product itself. Now, again, you could have a problem with the business model. You could have a problem with the games available and all this other stuff. But the actual performance of the product itself, 99% of these people are lying about it. And the lie just kept festering and festering and festering even more. So again, you know me. I'm a nerd. I am a truth bearer at the heart of that. That just put the battery in my back to say, no, we have to expose these lies. The product itself is fantastic for what's being offered. Then it has a lot of potential. We could talk about the business model. Sure, we can have arguments about the business model, but then y'all started, then when people like myself was proving the performance, again, the aforementioned Jazz Corden went out and put out this lie. Oh, because Destiny was Stadia's premier software to prove that it ran well. You know what I mean? I think it was free to play or something like that. Yeah, on Stadia. It was part of, or Stadia Plus or whatever. I forgot what it was called. Their subscription service. They had an Xbox Live, type service. Was it Stadia Plus or something? I can't remember. But anyway, as long as you paid for the Stadia Plus, which was $9.99 a month, you got free games, you got access to Destiny, right? And then Destiny ended up becoming free. When it became free to play, it ended up becoming free to play on Stadia. Anywho, when Jazz Corden said, well, Stadia's on xCloud now, so that renders Stadia, not Stadia's on xCloud. Destiny is on xCloud now, Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is on xCloud now, so that renders Stadia is useless. I said, hold on, bucko. Hold on. As a matter of fact, I'll show you the video. I said, no. Destiny 2 Stadia, Destiny 2, Jesus Christ. Stadia's Destiny 2 and Xbox's Destiny 2 are two totally different experiences. Let me see. Destiny Stadia. I'll show you guys right here. Let's see here. Nah, I'm going to have to go to Cloud Dosage. Let me go to Cloud Dosage. That's where it's at. Formerly Stadia Dosage. Oh, come on. Okay. So let's do this. So we're at Cloud Dosage. let's look at this. Destiny. Stadia. Pulling it up. Here we go. Let's do this. Here's the infamous video right here. Destiny 2 versus Stadia, session 1. I got 2 sessions, session 1, session 2, and I said, proof that xCloud can't hang. Now, even though this video only has 1,000 views, how come it's not showing it? Come on. Even though this video only has 1,000 views, this was big for the channel. This is what launched our channel. Now I think up front we're showing, xCloud on Destiny, xCloud test Destiny 2, and then we're showing it on Stadia. And you got here, and as you should be able to see, you're getting 60 frames here on Stadia's Destiny 2 versus xCloud's Destiny 2. Oh, come on, man. Where I played the same areas. Like you can see the quality, even though at the time it's only 720p, you can see the difference in quality. That's xCloud right there. That's xCloud right there versus Stadia. You can see it in the frame rates and even the visual, even though again, it's just, at the time it was just 720p. You were getting like maybe 480p and, a cap 30 frames per second on xCloud, where on Stadia you were getting a lot. Like, there you go, right there. You could see it right there. That makes me want to throw up just looking at that. So I said, no. I said, Jazz, you're full of crap. And I came out with this video. And if you can see at this time, let's look at some of the other videos that I had up here. Yeah, all my other videos were barely cracking. This is all around 6 years. All the videos that I had at the time were barely cracking 100 views. I remember, a lot of my friends was like, you're barely, you're not getting any views with your videos, right? Then that came out. After that came out, then it all changed for me. I had people, this made the rounds on the Reddits and all this other stuff, and it shut Jazz down. I remember people contacted me that were Jazz's friends, that we kind of had, like, we got a couple of mutual friends at least at the time we did. And they called me and they said, why did you do that to Jazz? Why you do that? That wasn't fair. Why you do it? Moss, you didn't even have to do that. That was effed up. Why you do that? I swear to goodness. I had people that were mutual friends call me and say, yo, why you do that? Why did I do that? Because I'm a steward of the truth. I'm a true nerd. True nerds just don't have experience with a bunch of nerdy stuff. They respect the culture and they understand the pillars of the culture. And the main pillar of nerd culture is the truth. So again, it's shown in my coverage of Stadia. Had a slight interest. I doubt it because of the coverage, because I'm like, the gaming media can't be saying all this negative stuff about Stadia if it ain't true. Finding out that they were doing exactly what I thought they wouldn't be able to do. And thank goodness for Stadia. If anything, Stadia showed me how deceitful and how lack of integral fortitude the gaming community can have. And my efforts with Stadia were basically to push back on the lies. That's it. That is it. Was to push back on the lies and create a safe haven for those that wanted to learn more about Stadia, that liked the product. That's it. You know what I mean? Even at the time, and again, I'm not trying to underplay my affinity for the product and my belief system that it would be given a bigger chance than what it was given. I'm not doing that at all. I did an hour-long stream where I owned up to that. But I didn't even believe that Stadia would be the biggest cloud gaming platform. I was like, yeah, it'll be 2. I said it'll be number 2. You know what I mean? So again, my efforts towards Stadia was, again, exposing people to the truth about it. And I would just give it a chance. Just give it a chance. If you don't like it after you give it a fair chance, then okay, you don't like it. Let them know why you don't like it so it can become a better product. That's all you can do. But secondly, if you do like it, here goes a safe place where you can come with like-minded people and you can enjoy the product. That's it. Now, people say, oh, well, you were going out and attacking people. Because if you were lying, why do you have to lie and possibly distort someone's reality or distort the truth and separate somebody from something that they could possibly enjoy? Because I almost fell victim to that. There could have been no Stadia dosage, and there would be no cloud dosage. And cloud dosage just killing it on the internet. One of the biggest and best cloud gaming sources, if not the best, in my opinion, it is the best by a far margin, nothing against anybody else. Resource out there, none of that would be possible. It starts with me accidentally getting my Stadia unit, even though I was about to cancel my order. I was literally 24 hours from none of this happening because I would have heard that stuff and been with the bandwagon. Oh, yeah, Stadia's trash. I almost bought that, because I would have still had faith in the gaming community or the gaming journalist community, right? Simply put, y'all, my commodity is the truth. It's not friendships. It's not an agenda. It's not an answer to loneliness. What people don't understand is that blessings, frustrations were boiled down to, look, Xbox, we're sick of the thickest smoke and mirrors game in the business that you guys are known for. We got serious questions about this regime change. And simply put, like I stated earlier, in order for us to get past this smoke and mirrors, Jazz Gordon and WC ain't gonna cut it. We don't need your entire plans now. We just need to know what you truly intended by the direction you claimed that you were heading in when you said things like, you know, we're bringing Xbox back. We're sending around the console. We're not going to do AI slop. What did you mean by that? And in order for us to get that, we need somebody that's going to take you to task for that. Now, if you're savvy enough and you're skilled enough in your craft, you ain't got to be an asshole or a jerk or a multitude of other things to the new CEO. You don't have to do that. But I'll tell you this. I don't care if you're a journo trying to defend the access journalism out there, or I don't care if you're friends with Jazz and you like Jazz. Jazz was not competent enough to do that for the sake of the gamers, to get to the truth. And secondly, Jazz's questions were not good enough to do that. And only having 15 minutes is not a viable excuse. After I saw that interview, because I've done interviews, if you followed me on Stadia, I've talked to big and small not content creators, big and small developers that, you know, have worked with Ubisoft. Some of my communications have been offline. We've never had an interview. I just had questions about something in particular and got connected to, you know, gaming companies and talked to them off the record about some things, right? That I talked about on my shows later. And I've only had less than 5 minutes with them. So I know what I was able to extract in less than 5 minutes versus 15 minutes. Regardless of the time Jazz had, he could and should have asked more pointed questions. It only took me 10 minutes to come up with these questions that should have been asked versus what was asked. Let's start with question number one. When they were talking about, we're going to bring Xbox back and all this other stuff. Here's what I wouldn't have just said, well, what did you mean by you're going to bring Xbox back? That is the general theme of question that we have, but you're the journalist. Your question can't be like that because you're skilled enough to diverge from that. So here's what you ask. Hey, Ms. Sharma, thank you for joining us today. Congratulations on your new role. Got a couple of questions, though, based off of some of the things that you said and promised and your tenure here with Xbox. And we wish you the best. However, you know, the comments that were made, that, you know, create a lot of attention. So hopefully today, what we can do with the little bit of time that we have, understand you got a lot of things to tend to. I won't take up too much time, but with the little bit of time that we have today, we can kind of get beyond the veil and get to the thicket of what you were looking to express, or what you mean, or what the realities were associated to some of the things that you said. So let's get into it. Number one, you said a return to Xbox, which to many suggests exclusives, hard-hitting and innovative AAA games, and technically enhanced plug-and-play hardware within a fathomable console price range. When you talked about a return to Xbox, is that what you're committing to? Or are you committing to all or any of that with your statement? Pin her ass to the box. Because if you're going to invoke a return to Xbox, you need to speak specifics. All right. Number two, we saw instead of we're gonna get back and we're gonna create games that incite people and all other and excite the masses. I'm not throwing you that slow ball. I'm going to ask instead. Now, we saw Xbox have a very unexpected poor performance last quarter. We knew hardware were dipped, but software heavily underperformed. How do you plan to support Matt and software differently to ensure software is more appealing to those same gamers that you said, you know, you're bringing Xbox back for? Like, so in other words, what I want to know is, what is it specifically that you're going to do opposed to give us new, innovative, and fresh ideas? What is your game plan to do that? I'm not just going to let you just run amok with a bunch of word salad and PR speak. I need to know specifics. And lastly, because of your background, no, let me back. I'm not just going to say, well, people have concerns because you're an AI. You know, what are you going to do? What do you got to say about that? I'm not, you know, and I'm paraphrasing here, but that's the level of ingenuity with his question. Instead, I'm asking this. Because of your background, people doubt the sincerity of a diversion from AI slop. What is it that you think gamers' biggest pet peeve towards AI is? And what do you think they mean when they don't want AI slop? And what are the two biggest ways you plan to use AI to enhance Xbox? Now, some of you are looking at that and you're saying, well, she's not going to answer those questions, MM. She's not going to give you the information. Fine. She's going to throw out more PR speak. Absolutely fantastic. If she answers with specifics, great. If she answers with fluff we know is just bullish, great as well. If she gives us a bunch of non-committals, then we know the perception omitted from her original comments was just pure rhetoric. Therefore, gamers should be in a server holding pattern. Meaning, whoa, hold on here. when she said this in the tone that she said it ain't matching the details behind it now. Guess what? That's still great. How could all of these be great? Because it gets us closer to the commodity that we should actually be here for, the truth. Because if she gives us details, then we get the truth. We get closer to the truth. Because even if she gives us details and they're lies, we've been around this rodeo long enough. We'll be able to disseminate what's a lie, what's the truth right off the bat. But if she tries to obfuscate or, do a lot of PR speak, then we know she was just blowing a lot of hot smoke. Now, it was more likely that we get 2 or 3. We get a lot of hot smoke or we get a lot of non-committals. And that's fine. That's all we need right there. Because that lets us know who we're dealing with better. That lets us know we're dealing with someone that's going to probably even worse than Phil blow a lot of hot smoke up our ass. We can't trust nothing. We got to do our due diligence and we got to put their feet to the fire constantly. Let me give you an example. Everything isn't roses and peaches and cream over at PlayStation. Absolutely not. I talked about this previously in our Blue Point conversation. And if you're a member and you're hearing this as a member, make sure you check that out if you haven't checked that out. We may release that soon, but I want to address this first. We may release that to the public soon. But if not, if you don't want to wait for us to release it to the public, go check it out now. But everything's not golden over there. We love PlayStation. I'm enjoying the hell out of Resident Evil Requiem on my PlayStation. I'm loving Ghost of Yotai and all these other games that I got to play. I think it's awesome. I can play Requiem via the cloud on my portal. Here's the thing. And I'm loving that PSSR 2 in Requiem. Here's the thing. We talked about Jim Ryan panicking over the APK deal and starting this crazy push, this wild push for games as a service that has not been centered and focused on properly. And we also talked about how, they gave us false appearances at first. Herman hosting them, that they realized the mistake that Jim Ryan did and they're pulling back on it. And things are looking even worse. But then now, because throughout all this, the PlayStation community, not all of them, but a lot of them have been calling for people's heads. Guess what happened? After Hiroki Totoki, who is the biggest problem over at PlayStation right now, over Sony, when in regards to PlayStation, he realized his head was going to be served on a platter if he didn't do better. What this dude do? This dude do? He go get up in a tracksuit and go hang with Kojima over at Kojima Studios, make it seem like, yeah, I'm down with you gamers. After all the arrogant comments that he made in regards, that was totally the antithesis of what gamers were looking for. Herman Host completely shut up, and I don't see any more pictures of him windboard surfing or anything like that. He's going radio silent, and he's in the studio doing the hard work, even though he's had a couple of faux pas, particularly with the God of War game not being the quality it should have been. It is commercially successful, but it's not the quality that the IP deserves, right? And the firing of Blue Point. You know what I mean? His head is on. It's because of those things that we're seeing a diversion from a lot of the stuff that was unpopular that Hideo Kojima was. I mean, not Hideo Kojima. That Hiroki Totoki was going full steam ahead on, and now we're even hearing that PlayStation is pulling back, possibly, on its PC ambitions. We're hearing that. Again, everything's not perfect, but at least we have something. We know now that the PlayStation brass is on pins and needles because we're on their ass. We have some leverage. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to continue to try to do stupid stuff, or, that they're not just holding in a holding pattern right now. But they're being very careful about this now. Toki isn't being as arrogant with his vision now. He understands that if he wants to do some of these radical things, he better be careful, make sure he don't touch the live wire. That gives us leverage. Xbox community, you have no leverage. Why? Because y'all cannibalize and eat each other up when people try to, put criticisms out there. Well, you're not a real Xbox fan. You're a pony bot. And y'all walk the status quo line sent out to you from the company. Y'all don't act like consumers, let alone nerds. Simply put, when the truth is the commodity, you can relate to Blessing's disgruntled response. But the fact of the matter is, most of you can't. And your inability continues to be a disservice to gamers. That with your actions and your toting the line, whether it's for attention, for friendship, or for agendas, you're sending gamers off a cliff like Wile E. Coyote. Why? Because in an era of uncertainty about future gaming investments, I don't know if you saw, but this 2025 marked the least amount of money that was invested in AAA gaming in a long time. Yes, it's looking grim out here for AAA games at a broad spectrum as far as an investment. But because of that, we are the last stop between just a rough patch post-pandemic. A lot of the stuff we're seeing is just a clearing up of the pandemic. I told people this is going to take some time. Versus the total obliteration of the hobby that we love as we knew it, or as we know it. Therefore, the truth is the only commodity valuable enough to save gaming. To do what you want to do. But because I love gaming at its core, I'm going to keep digging for exactly that. What is that again? The truth. That's all I have to say about that matter. I'm hopeful gamers will start being gamers and consumers again. Get out of this console war. I got to fight for this. I heard something peculiar, and I've heard it several times. Like when Sarah Bond was let go, because let's be honest, that's what happened. And they tried to scapegoat her. I heard people say, you know what? This is an Xbox campaign was stupid. But because it's what Xbox was doing, we just had to toe the line. I'm not going to get into the ridiculousness of that from the consumer side. You don't realize how antithetical to the survival of the platform that you love that is. When you have a company, especially a company that's publicly traded, you are not their number one attention. Their number one intention are the public investors. In order to get the public investors, all they got to do is prove that they got y'all hook, line, and sinker to help the public investors' dollar grow. That's it. When you willingly and blindly tell them, we're going to buy your product and we're going to support whatever that you do, no matter what, the less they got to do for you, because all they got to do is support the public investors. But when you hold their feet to the fire and you say, you know what, I won't get the next PlayStation 6 if you do this, or if exclusives are coming 6 months out to PC, or if you do this, or if you do, I'm not getting, this is it. And I won't continue to buy. Then that sends ripples to the company, and they potentially pull back on stuff. Why? Because if they don't get your dollar, that's no longer lucrative to the investor. You have leverage. So I'm not going to get into how pathetic and I'm not going to get into the corporate slave rhetoric. I'm not going to do that, even though it's all true. It's more than rhetoric. It's true. I'm going to simply say you think you're supporting your favorite brand, but you're not. You understand your guys are on different sides of the river. You have different agendas. They only do for you what you like out of necessity. Once that necessity is gone, they will no longer do it. The company's mantras are do more with less. And it's been more paramount since 9/11. I've seen how this has morphed and mutated over the last 2.5 decades. It's more so now than it's ever been. Where companies used to say, you know what? Just a sign of thanks here, we're going to do this. They don't do that anymore. It's all about more for less. And now it's getting even worse because you could have a division that's successful, but if public investors feel like, well, yeah, you're getting 15% margins here, but if you were to take that same dollar and just invest it over there where you're getting 30% margins, why don't you do that instead? Close that down. Investment has gotten so greedy. That's what companies are doing now. They're taking things that are still seeing success and they're closing it down and reinvesting it elsewhere. Hence why we saw what was happening with the memory shortage for retail gamers. They were making money off of that, but they're making more money given the supply elsewhere. So they cut that off. The memory suppliers cut that off and they're investing all of their resources into just business to business activities. That's becoming more and more prevalent now. You don't make the product that you like better by just towing the line with everything that they do. You're making them worse because they're providing less. And they don't realize it themselves. They're just falling off a cliff. They're just blindly providing less until they fall off the cliff. You've seen it with your favorite restaurants, your favorite this, your favorite that. It happens all the time. You don't help them by doing that. You help them by keeping them honest and keeping them thinking heavily about the consumer and being always concerned about consumer support. If they could just go out here and get a PR person and the PR speech becomes a product over besides the quality of the product, you've lost. You've lost. And this is why I tell gamers, just go get a PlayStation. Because look, PC manufacturers, they've given up on you. You're like, screw it. Yeah, getting this PC now is going to be $250 million. They've given up on you. The Xbox community gives clear leeway for Xbox to just do whatever they want and Microsoft to do whatever they want to their Xbox fans. So they're pretty much giving up on you. And PlayStation is the only one where there's some accountability left. Some, but it gives you something. Yeah. That's why I just tell, if you're a console gamer and you're going through the rigors right now with Xbox, just give it up, go get your PlayStation. That's my best suggestion, my best advice. But if you're adamant that you want to go to PC, we talk about in previous videos, what's your best practices converting over to PC. All right. Want to take a little bit more time and talk about some other things real quick. I got to get rid of some things off my screen. Well, you know what? I'll save that for another video. Yeah, I'll save that for another video. But I did want to first and foremost address and ask you, as gamers, I think it's time for you to get in tune with the nerd side of gaming. Bring nerdism back. Nerdism is all about the truth. When you become integrated with the truth, regardless of what your favorite product is, you keep them accountable. Look, we were of the first here on this channel to say fire to Toki. We brought that up first here. I'm the first one that warned y'all Toki's gonna be a problem. Cold Blood was the first to tell you. He's the first one to bring up fire Herman Holst. He's the one that told you Herman Holst was gonna be a problem. And we love PlayStation, but we ain't gonna accept anything. Say what you want. Yeah, PlayStation ain't perfect, but what's happening at Xbox is way more egregious. Hence why PlayStation's doing better. Okay. With that said, that's it for your boy. I will do a part 2 to this later where I get more into this whole thing about Satya, him deciding to bring Asha on, and you know what I mean, who really, Sarah getting scapegoated and all this other stuff. We'll get into that later. But with that said, I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. Till next time, you all have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.